Hello, thank you for joining me. My name is Dennis and welcome to my art channel. We're going to jump right into a watercolor painting today, doing a abstract, pulling every color out of the palette, starting of course with a neutral, kind of natural reddish color. This is the burnt sienna coming down initially, following it up with a bit of blue and letting it mix in any which way. Blue plus red should make a bit of a green, but as we're making a wash, things aren't quite intense enough to mix into some new colors, but we're getting there. First things first is just laying some baselines, some base structure, some foundations, if you will, to the house that is our painting for today. Already whipping out a bit of a smaller brush, still got some long bristles though, makes it a bit more expressive. Nothing like an expressive brush to be able to make my feelings known to the page. I do believe I was listening to music for this painting. I feel like it's a recurring theme on these videos, whether or not I'm enjoying some jams when it comes to the actual art making. And in this case, I definitely was listening to some heavy electronic music. I don't know if it'll come off in how the painting ends up, but you know, that's just what was happening around the context, if you will. Normal spot, my room, my little studio table, little set up here. But you know what's different is this fresh combination of colors, lines, and vibes, right? Laying in directly into the center of the painting now. Got bright yellow and trying to tone it down with a bit of a brown. I think it's more of that sienna pigment, but now that there's a comparative value, that yellow, it comes off much more brown, bit more neutral. That was Wild Stroke. I think that was the indigo, one of the darker colors available to me, and mixing right in with some of the cad yellow, and that becomes a delicious green. I feel like at some point, I think this is the point in the painting where I'm like, I decided that I need to stop being afraid of this color, this blue yellow mix, the greens. I feel like I stay away from it. I mean, I do obviously like purple. There's a lot of purple and violets in a lot of my pieces, but something that always I feel like I've stayed away from, but in the end, like, I shouldn't, and might even make better, stronger paintings is these greens. Following it up with some blue, some yellow, some red, every single color is going down on this painting, but it's about the amount of pigment and how much is placed, if it's mixed or not, how much it's worked into the page, and how much pressure is applied to the brush. Whether there's a bit of a line being made, a bit of a actual mark, or more of a generous flow of like a spot of paint. I feel like my process consists of seeing what areas need large amounts of of paint coverage, and then what areas are starting to dry up and can use a bit more finesse and the kind of finer lines. Just there, I was using the good old paper towel technique. Been using it a bit in the past few videos, but it is really easy to erase something I'm not too fond of in the painting and redo it. I feel like it's cool to see in this kind of video process as well, because you really can see how I'm just changing my mind real time right here. Like, you know, I wanted a bit darker color maybe, but it's too dark. It feels a little too different from the rest of what's going on. The balance is just a bit off with what I was doing there. And so, you know, a little bit of paper towel, pick up that watercolor, pick it up off the page. I feel like that paper towel is becoming its own little painting there. But I feel like it's just slowly turning into a brown. It'll be interesting to see what it ends up. I wonder how long I'll keep using the same towel. It's like at least a month now. I wonder if it'll make it to 2. I doubt it would make it to 3. I feel like at that point it would just be kind of gross. But honestly, sponge is in order. Maybe. No, I'm not going to use one of those Scotch type. What is Scotch? It's like a brand, right? I feel like they make tape. Do they also make I'm like confusing myself with these corporations that are in my head, but yeah, I'm just thinking of like a normal dish sponge might be able to work. Just like cut like a strip of dish sponge, or maybe I'll hit up the art store, find something a bit more dedicated, maybe has a funky shape that's a bit inspiring. You'll see if this happens. We'll be following up on the sponge topic, paper towel topic. This is definitely recurring. But honestly, it's a nice little micro adventure within the painting. Like, I feel like it's something where I can learn and enhance my expression. I feel similar to when I discovered the using palette knives for working on acrylic or oil, since it feels like, you know, working with the heavier paint, there's no way to take it off, but you can work in the negative by just using a knife, cutting the paint off, scraping it directly off the canvas. So even paint scraper tool, that's definitely an option. It's overkill for this kind of work, but I mention it just because I feel like I always dream of going back to working on larger canvas, and anything I can do on this smaller watercolor that will translate to the larger, I'm always trying to do. Think of how doing like initial wash in watercolor is very possible in both acrylic and oil, just by using a paint thinner. In case of oil, get some turpentine. In the case of acrylic, get some like acrylic binder. I feel it sounds kind of lame, but I think that's all you need to use. It's just some the binder. Mix it up, make it a little more thin, or just some water. Thin the acrylic with water, but I feel like it's not quite right, since it doesn't really adhere one-to-one. I feel like water and acrylic, acrylic is strange to me. I don't know. Oil makes a bit more sense, since it's like a natural kind of a thing, versus like the acrylic is definitely like a manufactured thing. I feel like it's like, is it like a polymer, like plastic kind of a feeling, but like not really, since it's like you got the pigment going on there. Somebody with a science background might be able to educate me on this one. Or maybe I'll be going on to Google after this video, learning about. But yeah, I feel like I've digressed enough. The painting is coming together at this point. We got all sorts of colors. We got all sorts of lines. There's some things going around. I don't want to, explain it all. I'm just giving the basic feeling of how this went down. I'd love to hear from you in the comments what you think of this painting. If there's anything that you see, if it represents something, if it makes you feel a certain kind of way, please let me know in those comments down below. Yeah, we really are coming to a head here. I'm trying to even see what I'm doing here, and it's like, no, it's just little fine bits of wet brush, just filling in those nearly invisible gaps on the zoom out kind of camera. But here's some close-up. You can see all the little different areas where the water was spreading the color, or maybe the brush was doing the work. All varieties, hopefully giving you a different dimension to look at beyond just the computer screen or phone screen or what have you. Yeah, thank you so much. Hope you have a wonderful weekend. Take care. Peace.